courage, commitment, desire. This is the Blitz, baby! Playoffs, yeah!
I'm Travis Downey, and this is Will Parchman, and this is another edition of the Northwest Florida Daily News' Prep Football Blitz, where we get you guys set up for the week that is coming up, and we are in week 2 of the playoffs here.
Rolling right along.
Right along, and we do so having our number of local teams cut in half. Had 6 schools last week, Choctawhatchee, South Walton, Walton, all went down. So now we're left with only Fort Walton Beach, Niceville, and Freeport left standing, locally speaking. And I guess kind of looking back to last week, the big surprise, Fort Walton Beach going on the road to Pine Forest.
Shocker.
Number 7 team in the state. 42-39 overtime win for the Vikings. Just an impressive win. No one saw that coming. I'm pretty sure we both picked Pine Forest.
Yeah.
Everyone picked Pine Forest, but a big win for them.
Huge. Sets
up a huge matchup with Niceville this week, which we'll get to that game in just a minute. First off, looking down to Class 1A, Freeport, the magical season kind of continues. You've been speaking with Jim Anderson and those guys all week. Yep. What's the consensus? What's the feeling over there in Freeport?
Well, I mean, you can't look at Freeport without looking at that 10-1 record first. I mean, it's just been so impressive. But with that said, I mean, it's one game season from here on out. They've just totally put that on the back burner. In talking with Jim Anderson, they've just throttled Bluntstown last weekend. Beat them by about 40 points, and that's already forgotten. I mean, they're moving past it. And they really have to, because this Liberty County team, they're fast, they're really athletic. They run a kind of an option-style attack, like something you might see at Georgia Tech. It's different from what they've seen in the past, because if you look at, a lot of Class 1A teams run first, and in fact, most of them do. But most of what you see in 1A is it's not option-based necessarily.
Right.
And what you'll see with Liberty County, a lot of option. They run it through that quarterback there. Terrence Evans has about 1,000 yards rushing this season on about 120 carries and 16 touchdowns. The offense kind of rolls through him. So they'll be doing a lot of that. What I will look for, what I think will be the key in this game is Freeport's multi-dimension offense. I think that has been kind of the difference for them. Like I said, I mean, most Class 1A teams run, and Freeport can certainly do that. They can also pass as well, and I think that's something that you don't see a whole lot at that level, and that's been, obviously one of the big keys for them this year, I think.
I think one of the more impressive things with Freeport, and you alluded to it at the top there, is the way this team in the past, all during this season, has been able to put last week behind them. This is a team that went undefeated through district play for the first time ever. But each week, even after they had positioned themselves for a first-place finish in the district, it was as if they were going out for game 1.
Right.
And I think the way Jim Anderson and that coaching staff has forced those players to buy into that 1 week at a time mentality, I think that's a big reason why they're here. And that's a big reason I think I like them to get the win.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Freeport here as well. One thing I think that's interesting about Liberty County, only lost of the season, week 3 to Port St. Joe, lost by about 6 points. From that point on, no other team came so close, so much as 10 points within them for the rest of the year, until that South Walton game last week, when they just looked out of sorts for about a half and change. And South Walton, came up with that fumble there at the beginning, up 17-7, kind of paved the way there for a Liberty County comeback. So that's just kind of an interesting thing to keep an eye on, is that Liberty County didn't play their best last week. Are they peaking? And you look at a Freeport team that won by about 40 against an 8-2 Bluntstown team last week. I mean, that Bluntstown team was no joke. They just totally rolled them.
Yeah.
So I will take Freeport as well. I think the battle in the trenches defensively would be big for them. If they can at least slow down that Liberty County running attack, I think they'll score enough to take this one and on to the state semifinals. I mean, that's one step. You're one step away. So
takes us to Class 4A with Niceville, Fort Walton Beach, district rivals, county rivals. You name it. They don't like each other when they're playing each other in that sport. It's going to be really interesting. I know Niceville's going to be the heavy favorite, as they should be, the number 1 in the state, 10-0. Fort Walton Beach is going to be coming in off of a huge win over Pine Forest. But granted, you wonder, is that a blip on the radar? Is that something this team can do week in, week out? I like Niceville to win this game. I'm curious to see how Fort Walton Beach can go about slowing down a Niceville offense that as this season's progressed has only grown and grown as far as what they're capable of doing. When you look at the schedule they've been through, 7 of the 9 teams, playoff-bound teams,
right.
that Niceville has beaten. And everyone knows about Roy Finch, Cody Williams, but to me, Kyle McDormand, the quarterback who has really progressed as the season's gone on, set a single season school record with 22 touchdowns this season throwing. Cody Williams, we've talked about him. Roy Finch, we know about him. Stefano Shuddy, a tight end that's been really instrumental. Mike Owens single-handedly just pointed out Shuddy as being a key aspect, a key force in this offense. It's a scary offense when you look at the weapons. We haven't even mentioned Spencer Pullen and Garrett Fletcher. 2 great backs in the backfield with Finch. So to me, it's how can Fort Walton Beach slow down Niceville offense. And then on the flip side of that, you've got a sophomore quarterback. Granted, he tore up Pine Forest last week. He's a little banged up. How is he going to handle Niceville? I think Niceville's secondary has shown, you look at the game against Pace, they gave up some plays in the passing game. How will they stand up with Fort Walton Beach? In the end, I just think Niceville, they've established themselves as kind of the class or program in this area this season. This team has, and I just think they have a little bit too much weapons for Fort Walton Beach.
Yeah, Niceville, they're just so versatile. You look at what they were able to do against Fort Walton Beach in the first matchup, winning 36-13, rolled up about 400 yards of just rushing yards in that game. That was just basically, Roy Finch wasn't even there for, 2.5 quarters. And they just came out and just ran. Right. And that wasn't even, with Finch. Right. They can make their minds up to do certain things in a certain attack and do it well. And it just seems to me that Fort Walton Beach is going to need a little extra from Ryan, a little bit extra from the line. You heard all the last few weeks Mike Owens saying about how they were going to have to be more physical. Right. They did a great job. Pine Forest is a fast, physical team. Can they do it against Niceville, which is almost like an upgraded version of that Pine Forest team in a game that has so many implications area-wide in terms of all the connections that you get here. So I like Niceville here. I think that, like you said, just so deep. The fact that they can lean on guys like Pullen and Fletcher who could start, in a lot of 4A programs across the state is pretty impressive.
It's funny you mentioned that the offense. We keep going back to the Niceville offense. And speaking with John Hicks earlier this week, I asked him about that offense, and it was funny because he said that if a defense tries to take away the running game, we'll turn to our passing game.
Right.
If the defense tries to take away the passing game, we'll come right at you, like they did against Fort Walton Beach, especially in that first drive where it was just 12 straight running plays. It's a scary situation for defensive coordinators.
Right.
No defensive coordinator likes to go in against a team so balanced and so multidimensional, but that's what Fort Walton Beach has this week. I think it's going to be a good game. I will say this. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
No.
I think if you're going in there thinking it's going to be 42-7, 42-14, I don't think that's going to be the outcome. I think it's going to be a closer ball game. You look at last meeting, there was no Roy Finch. Granted, it was 15-3 at halftime. So I think it's going to be a good ball game. I just think Niceville in the end is too much.
I think we're in agreement on that one. So thanks so much for joining us this week. I'd like to send out a special happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, and we will see you again next week. Enjoy the games.